If you've been curious about testosterone replacement therapy and want to know more about Henry Meds TRT, stick around. I'll walk you through my full experience and tell you what it is exactly like before you decide giving it a shot. Before we get into everything, if you want to check out the latest deals and save up to 50% on Henry Meds TRT, hit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen. All right, let's talk about Henry Meds TRT actually is. You've probably seen their ads pop up online because you've been pushing pretty hard lately, especially with all the hype around men's health and optimizing testosterone levels. Henry Meds is basically one of those telehealth companies that makes it easier to get medication without jumping through the usual hoops of traditional clinics. They handle everything online from your consultation to getting your prescription, and they ship the meds straight to your door. The testosterone program includes multiple options: injections, topical creams, and oral meds. While injections are the most common form, it's nice that they offer flexibility depending on what works best for you. That's one of the main reasons I decided to try them. I liked Henry Meds because it gave you options. Injections if you want the most direct and constant result, but also creams or oral options if you prefer something needle-free. Injections are still considered the most stable and reliable form, but it's nice not to be locked into just one method. The flexibility plus the fact that they have a clear process with built-in lab testing and real support made to feel a lot more trustworthy. Now, let's talk about my actual experience. I'll say the sign-up process was way smoother than I expected. They started with an online intake, fill out with your information, talk about the symptoms, goals, and medical history after they arranged for your lab work, which is required to get the clear picture of your hormone levels. And honestly, that part went pretty well. I didn't have to chase anyone for updates, and once the labs were done, the results came in quickly. But here's where things started to get a bit real. The truth they don't really highlight up front, while they do advise that you can start around $129 a month. That's the base price of your lowest starting dose and your initial consultation. But some men, especially those prescribed something around 200 milligrams a week, which is pretty common, a real monthly cost can end up being closer to $250 to $300, and that includes follow-up labs and tracking testosterone and estradiol and SHBG levels. It's not just the extra cost that's unjustifiable, because safety labs are important, but the pricing could be clearer. I also noticed that while their website and onboarding feel modern and professional, the timeline from signing up to actually getting your medication can be a bit long. The site says most patients receive their medication within 10 business days after their provider approves their prescription. But in my case, it took about 3 weeks from the moment that I signed up to when I had my vials in hand. And that's something that I don't think enough people talk about. You expect an online service to be quick, right? But the delay comes from waiting for labs and scheduling a virtual consultation and waiting again for the compounding pharmacy to prepare and ship the prescription. But it's not that long actually. But if you're expecting straight away, you're probably going to get impatient after a week wondering what's going on. When I finally got my medication, I was relieved to see that everything arrived packaged neatly, labeled clearly, and included an injection kit, which made me feel a lot more legitimate. If you're new to injections, this part can be intimidating, but instructions were clear enough that I didn't feel lost, and they even provided tutorials and guides if you needed more help, which I actually found helpful. The first couple of times, injecting testosterone might sound scary, but after doing it once or twice, it becomes another part of your weekly routine. As far as the results go, that's where I was generally impressed. The medication quietly felt consistent, and I could tell the effects were steady. No wild energy spikes, no mood swings, and just a gradual improvement in focus, energy, and overall motivation over a few weeks. I started noticing things like waking up more refreshed, having better workouts, and feeling sharper mentally. That's the part of the TRT that is hard to describe. It's subtle at first, but it adds up over time. And I've got to give Henry Meds its credit for delivering on the front. Another thing that stood out was their customer service. I had a few questions about dosage adjustments early on, and they quickly replied to me with clear, simple explanations. No confusion, no medication talk, no canned response. It actually felt like they cared about me and getting me back on the right track rather than just trying to move me along. That's something that a lot of online healthcare companies miss. So it was nice to see. So yeah, there are definitely things I liked. The easy setup, the reliable results, the clear instructions, the response support. All of that makes a solid experience once you get past the waiting period and the cost confusion. But since this is about the truth that they don't tell you, let's keep it real. There are things they could absolutely improve. The first one is their transparency around pricing. I get that every patient is different and every dosage varies, but showing more realistic average cost would save a lot of people from surprise charges later. I've seen too many guys online thinking they're going to pay $129 a month and only realize it's more than double that once they start their standard dosage. The second thing is that the timeline, while Henry Meds advertises delivery within 10 business days, it can take longer if the lab work or provider scheduling gets delayed. It's not a huge problem, but something worth knowing. Still, to be fair, once you're actually set up, the process is smooth. Everything runs on autopilot after that. Refills, follow-ups, dosage adjustment, it all happens online without needing to schedule a ton of appointments. So if I had to sum it all up, I'd say Henry Meds TRT is great for guys who don't mind doing injections and want a straightforward way to manage testosterone levels from home without dealing with traditional clinics. It's not perfect, but it's effective, reliable, and backed by real medical oversight, which is more than I can say for some other online hormone brands out there. Just going in and knowing what you're signing up for, be ready for price to be a bit higher than the headline number, and don't expect to start right away because it might take a few weeks to get everything lined up. So if you're thinking about giving it a shot, you can check out the link in the description or the QR code on the screen to save up to 50% and get the best deal on Henry Meds TRT. Now, before we wrap this up, I'm curious, if you could change one thing about these online TRT services, what would it be? Personally, I'd want clearer pricing up front, but what about you? Comment down below and I'd love to hear your thoughts.